Hi guys, welcome back. So here we are. Tailstock's done, bed of the lathe's done, refinished, polished up. Going to sort out the hardware on the other end, and then we're just down to the chuck and the cross slide, which is just going to be a matter of a little bit of rust removal and polishing. So these are the last piece for paint here. So the pulley unit itself, really straightforward to take to pieces. There are two oilers on the top that are actually packed out with dry grease, so I'll be popping those out. There's a couple of hex keys on the top. These pinch nuts are held together with two different shaped C-bars, but in fact with the oil that I doused the whole setup in, this is actually loose, so I will be able to just twist these off as a pair. I'm probably going to have to actually fabricate a new pair of C wrenches, I suppose you call them, to remove that, to tighten it back up as well, and to remove it in future in case I need to change the belt. But there are two of these that just nip up against each other, so nice and easy to sort that out. The oilers just come out as a solid piece that's just threaded in, so I'll need to clean those through. I'll just take the other end off as well. Keep all of these parts for polishing. Of course, this is just brass, so these are going to get treated with Brasso. You can see there, big blob of dried up grease in the bottom, so that is nice and easy. It's actually spinning quite nicely. A little bit of friction, I suppose. But what I'm going to need to do is polish this up once I've taken all these bits and bobs off. Next thing is that there is a grub screw in the middle of the pulley. Let's just see what we're dealing with. Could be a flathead, could be a hex. It is... oh, it's a ground out hex. This could be fun. Definitely Imperial. Right, bear with me. Okay, Imperial hex keys on standby. This shouldn't be too difficult, assuming I can actually find one that fits. Okay, that's the smart money right there. So, what have we got here? 1/8. That's it. Okay, now usually take these things all the way out, but because I'm going to be cleaning this up with a flap wheel, I'll bring that out for safekeeping. There's only the one on that. And there are two hex keys in the front of this. It's not quite so easy to see. Let's bring that over, shine the torch on it. They are very gunked up. There's one there and one there, so I'm just going to clean those out. A bit of brake cleaner. Just spraying back in my face, so I'm going to use the jet right in the hole here. I'm going to cover this over. That's good. Much improved. So I'll just pop those out now. Okay, so what we have to do here to loosen this off is whack that on the end there with a soft wooden mallet, or in this case I'm using a rubber dead blow just to knock that through. Right, so a little bit of rust on this. That's the flat where the grub screw in the pulley attaches. And it's just an oiled bearing. That's what the two oiling points are for. So just going to clean that up. Clean that up because that's absolutely disgusting. Actually looks like it's been used to turn wood at some point. There's definitely some wood dust in here. I wonder if someone used it maybe to make chess pieces or something like that. No idea. Anyway, whatever they were doing with it, that is the original aluminium pulley, so we'll keep on using that. That's going back in, but first need to give everything a nice good clean. So there we go, stripped down, ready for treatment, refinishing and reassembly. And as with all of these things, I'm going to start off with some brake cleaner, get all the grease off it, especially out of these lubricating holes here. The brass pieces are going to get polished with Brasso. Inevitably I'll be polishing the steel spindle with Brasso as well. I'll be using paint and varnish remover to get the old primer and paint off rather than sanding it, because for sure that's going to be lead paint, followed by a coat of anti-rust primer, followed by a top coat of industry grey enamel paint. You have seen all of this before, just a whole heap of chemicals this time round, so I'm going to speed the video up and I'll see you back here for reassembly. So, just going to put another little smidge of copper grease here onto these sections. It's a bit messy, but it certainly can't hurt. So we'll get as much of that on as we can. Now this is going to have to locate through the larger one of the two bearings here and into the smaller one at the other end, so it has to go in this way. You're going to need to locate the pulleys as it goes. Now there's a hole to tell you when the flat spot that the pulley grub screw attaches onto is on the top. That's really useful. One thing that's not really useful though is that you have to kind of juggle this around. So this may be easier with an extra person if you happen to have one about. I don't right now anyway. So I'm basically going to have to put the belt in place, hold that, slide the pulley in, slide the pin in, keeping everything aligned with this hole at the top. I'm gently going to tap that into place. You've got to be really careful doing this to make sure you're not actually misaligned at any point. So this is just about to locate into the back hole. Hasn't yet, so I don't want to tap it too hard. Okay, that's good. Now it's flush with the front face. I want to just make sure this is aligned properly. So what you can do, there is a little bit of play forwards and backwards. Push the pulley all the way up, tap it flush, and then that will allow you enough movement to locate it. Just push it in a little bit for further tapping. Oops, sorry, knocking you there. That's us. Belt is on. Okay, so then the grub screw, the hole was at the top, so I know the grub screw is locating against the flat here. This shouldn't either do damage to the spindle or come loose. I'll just nip that up. Lovely. That's done. So then we have these two locating pieces. Now I am, as I say, going to have to make a tool for this. This is just a metal bar with a couple of pins through it, very like the tool that you use to take discs off an angle grinder. And this one is a C-shaped tool that hooks over the top with a pin that just locates to pull that tight. You could use a pair of mole grips or similar, but that's going to score it up, so let's make a proper tool. Okay, so I'm just going to put this finger tight for now. Certainly it's all going to be carefully tightened, checked and set up before it's used. Okay, that's got a little bit of resistance there because of the grease that's in, which is good. Very happy with that. Certainly you don't want it to be loose. And then the last piece is just to refit the oilers, or grease, I suppose. 100% what they would have been originally. I mean, there was certainly grease in them. There is a spring-loaded ball bearing in the top there, so you can only assume there's some special kind of oiler that you can get that attaches onto that. I don't have one, whatever it is, so that'll have to do me for now. The top just unscrews. That's all been polished up. So before use, as I say, there's little, once I clean them up, it's like a grease nipple type of a thing, but I don't have the appropriate filler for it, and my normal grease guns are just going to scratch the surface. So I'll just fill them up with a spot of oil. There we go. Happy days. So, ready to refit back onto the lathe. Now these ones, as you'll probably recall, attach with a couple of brass or bronze bolts, whatever they are, into two holes here and here, which locate up into the bottom of the pulley unit itself. Now, to make this easier, I'm going to take the tailstock off. Just slides out the way. Okay, so one of these bolts I'll be able to put in from here, the other one has to go in through the leg. So I'll be able to locate the component thus, and I'll be able to fit the first one of the bolts, or at least get it started, nice and easily, just winding it in by hand. Took a bit of jiggling, but that's it nipped up. I just need to tighten that with a spanner in a moment. Before I do that, let us just put something down. To lie this back onto. Nice oily towel. Okay, so this one goes into that hole right there. Okay, so just need to use the little Whitworth sockets to tighten these up. Make sure I get the right one. There we go. And as before, I'm going to nip this up, not with any crazy force, but just with a little adjustable. I was genuinely surprised by how little force there was to break them off before. Went at it with massive overkill with the mighty tool, but it was completely unnecessary as it turned out. And I don't want to over torque these because this is cast iron. Okay, I think we're good. So now we can lift it back up. Use the belts to assist. Underneath the greasy towel. And I can bring the tailstock back in. A little bit fiddly to locate the dovetail sometimes. Just kind of angle them down like that to give you the best possible fighting chance. If you try and locate them like that, it's really tricky, but as I say, just dip the front down, makes it a little bit easier. There we go. So, at this point, I haven't yet cleaned up the cross slide or the compound. That's next on the list to do. Just rust treating and so on. Now just reaching here for the chuck. Just sticking this back on here to see how we're looking. Nice. So with this tailstock now able to move for boring out, or for holding a live tail piece, or even for holding a gadget to put dies into to get an absolutely dead straight thread onto components. Fantastic. Okay, home straight now. So need to clean up the chuck. That'll be super easy. That'll just be our old friend rust remover gel one more time. Likewise for the cross sliding compound. Now I will probably disassemble this whole unit to be absolutely certain of cleaning it properly. That's all metal components. There was originally paint on the front here, but I think I'm just going to polish it up as bare metal because the amount of oil that goes onto that component is quite extraordinary in use. That needs to just go back on here, and then we're on to making a base. I'm in two minds about what to make the base from. I suspect it's going to end up being a big piece of probably 3/8 inch plate steel. I have one just there, so we'll see what happens with that. But I reckon another afternoon I can have this thing turning. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.